The girl's hair isn't long enough for that mess, Mi-rae. You want someone to kneel? Try me. But I should warn you, I only kneel to pray, and right now I'm praying you give me a reason to show you how we handle pests on the ranch. In Moab, Utah, we have a rule. If you can't handle the heat, stay away from the fire. So when a broken billionaire named Kang Dae-hyun walked onto my ranch at 2 a.m. looking like death warmed over, I didn't see a CEO, I saw a man who'd forgotten how to bite. He offered me the world to move to Seoul. But he forgot to mention one little thing, his wife. Shin Mi-rae thought her designer heels gave her the right to walk all over me and her husband. She thought because I was the help from the West, I'd bow to her blood debt. She was wrong. See, I don't just cook tomahawks, I know exactly how to find the bone, how to separate meat from soul, how to cut through lies like they're overcooked brisket. While she was busy trying to humiliate me in front of Seoul's elite, I was busy investigating her father's empire. I've been following paper trails that led to fraud, theft, and a decade of lies. By the time she realized I wasn't there to serve her dinner, I'd already uncovered $200 million in evidence that would break her dynasty. My name is Zora Vance, master of the blade, daughter of the desert, and this is how I broke a narcissist's prison with a single stake. A whole lot of Utah grit, and evidence she never saw coming. But before I show you how I turned her blood debt into her biggest nightmare, I want to know who I'm talking to. And if you're that person who never lets anyone dim your light, hit that subscribe button and join our tribe. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Now, let's go back to where the fire started.
Let me paint you a picture of the players in this game. Me, Zora Vance, the lioness. People look at me and see a black woman in a chef's coat, and they think they know my struggle. They think I'm some feel-good story about bootstraps and overcoming. They don't know shit. My father's ranch, the Iron Bone, is 15,000 acres of Utah red rock and high desert. We run 2,000 head of cattle, supply premium beef to restaurants across 3 states, and turn a profit that would make most successful businessmen weep. I grew up with a knife in one hand and ranch accounts in the other, learning to butcher before I could drive and reading stock reports before I read Shakespeare. I didn't come to Korea because I needed a job. I came because I was bored of winning in America. Every ranch wants to be us. Every butcher wants to train under me. Every restaurant in the Southwest begs for my meat. I'm a master butcher, which means I spent 10 years learning every cut, every muscle, every way that life becomes food. And in Seoul, there was a lot of dead weight that needed cutting. Shin Mi-rae, the Ice Queen. Mi-rae is the kind of woman who thinks the sun rises because she gave it permission. She's never done a day of real work in her life, never earned a single thing, never had to fight for respect. She's the only daughter of Shin Jae-sung, a logistics titan who built an empire on shipping and warehousing. He owns 60% of Korea's supply chain. If it moves in Korea, it pays tribute to Shin Jae-sung. And Mi-rae? She grew up thinking people were possessions. Her father collected companies. She collected humiliations. Every person in her life was either a trophy or a tool. She used a blood debt, a contract her father engineered, to trap Dae-hyun in a loveless marriage. The price of his father's freedom was his own imprisonment. Her power isn't hers. It's a mask made of her father's money and her husband's enforced silence. She'd never met a woman who wouldn't blink when she screamed, who wouldn't bow when she demanded. Until me. Kang Dae-hyun, the caged king. Dae-hyun is what happens when a good man gets paralyzed by a bad promise. He's smart, MBA from Wharton, speaks 4 languages, could run circles around most CEOs I've met. He's kind. The staff at his hotel genuinely love him, not fear him. And he's been dying inside for 10 years. A decade ago, his father made a business mistake. A shipping error that could have been fixed quietly turned into a potential scandal. Mi-rae's father saved them, buried the evidence, made it all go away. But the price? A marriage contract with a repayment clause that would bankrupt the Kang family if Dae-hyun divorced her without just cause. Defined narrowly as criminal conviction. Infidelity? Not enough. Incompatibility? Not enough. Emotional abuse that leaves no marks? Not enough. So Dae-hyun became a puppet, letting his wife humiliate him in front of everyone to keep his father out of prison. He's a lion who's been told he's a dog for so long, he started to believe it. I came to remind him how to roar. People think the desert is dead. They see the rocks, the heat, the absence of obvious life, and they think, wasteland. They're idiots. The desert is the most alive place on Earth. You just have to know how to look. At midnight in Moab, Utah, standing over a cherrywood fire with a 4-pound tomahawk steak sizzling on custom-forged grates, I understood life better than most people ever would. My ranch, the Iron Bone, wasn't just a business. It was a religion, and I was its high priestess. 15,000 acres of red rock and high desert. 2,000 head of cattle that lived better lives than most humans. A dry aging room that maintained perfect conditions for 45 days while beef transformed from meat into art. My word was law. My steak was gospel. And my knives were sharper than Seoul's best plastic surgeon's scalpels. It was 2:47 a.m. when I heard the car. The engine sounded wrong, expensive, foreign, struggling on the dirt road. I watched headlights bounce over ruts. A Mercedes S-Class, pearl white, completely out of place. And out stepped Kang Dae-hyun. I knew who he was. You don't own a premium beef operation without knowing who buys from your competitors. The Kang Palace had been trying to source from us for 2 years. We'd always said no. But that's not what I saw when I looked at him. I saw a man who'd been wearing a golden noose for a decade. Expensive suit hanging wrong on his frame. Italian shoes now covered in red Utah dust. And eyes, God, his eyes looked like burnt-out husks. Empty. Dead. He didn't speak at first. Just stood there, breathing in smoke from my fire. You lost. I called out, not stopping my work. No, he said finally. His voice was rough. I'm exactly where I need to be. You hungry? He nodded. Then sit. Don't talk. Just watch. Cooking is meditation for me. The way fat renders, the way meat responds to heat, the smell of cherry wood and char, it centers me. I served him on a simple wooden board. The tomahawk, sliced thick to show the perfect medium-rare interior. Roasted poblano peppers. Chimichurri made with cilantro I'd grown myself, mixed with Korean gochugaru I'd ordered on a whim. Eat, I said. He cut into the steak. Perfect resistance. The interior glistened pink. He took one bite, and I watched a man come back to life. His shoulders dropped. His jaw unclenched. His eyes closed, and for a moment I saw something flicker, a memory of who he used to be. He didn't speak. Just ate. Slow, deliberate, savoring each bite like communion. When he finished, he looked at me with eyes that were slightly less dead. I want this in Seoul, he said. I want you in Seoul. I wiped my butcher knife slowly. I don't work for people, Dae-hyun. I work with them. And I don't come cheap. I don't care about the price. He stared at the fire. I'm living in a house of ice, Zora. Everything is cold, beautiful, perfect, and dead. I need someone who knows how to burn it down. Tell me about the ice, I said, sitting across from him. And he did. He told me about Mi-rae. About the blood debt contract his father had signed 10 years ago. About the repayment clause, $800 million plus 40% ownership, if he divorced her without criminal proof. About a decade of humiliation disguised as marriage. He told me about kitchens full of broken chefs. About restaurants serving technically perfect food with zero soul. About a life that looked perfect but felt like drowning. Why tell me this? I asked. He almost smiled. Because you're the first person in 10 years who looked at me like I was worth saving. Everyone else sees the money or the hotels. You looked at me like I was a rescue mission. You are, I said simply. So will you come? 6 months in Seoul. Fix my kitchens. Train my staff. I should have said no. Should have sent him back with a doggy bag, and my condolences. But I've always been a sucker for a challenge. 6 months, I said finally. I'll fix your kitchen, train your staff, and show you what fire tastes like again. And my wife. I smiled. If she wants to play with fire, I'll teach her why we don't keep ice in the desert. It melts too fast. We shook hands. His grip was weak at first, then firmed up. When can you start? He asked. 2 weeks. Then I'm all yours. As he drove away, my ranch manager Miguel walked up. You know who that was? He asked in Spanish. Yeah. Trouble. You going to Korea? Yeah. Why? We don't need their money. I looked at the dying coals that still held heat. Because sometimes you meet someone who's dying inside, and you realize you've got the one thing that can save them. What's that? Fire, Miguel. Pure fire. 20 hours later, the heat of Utah was a memory. Seoul hit me like a slap. Everything was glass, steel, and neon. Beautiful and artificial. A city that looked amazing in photos, but felt suffocating in person. A driver met me at Incheon, not Dae-hyun. Professional guy holding a sign, Zora Vance. Close enough. The drive to the Kang Palace took 40 minutes through brutal traffic. The hotel was everything I'd expected and nothing I wanted. 60 stories of glass in Gangnam. Marble lobby. Gold accents. Chandelier worth more than my ranch. I walked in wearing jeans, vintage boots, leather jacket, my knife roll over my shoulder. Every eye turned. Not admiration. Confusion. Good. Chef Vance. A voice like winter itself. I turned. Shin Mi-rae. She was beautiful the way expensive things are beautiful. Perfect skin, perfect hair, perfect makeup. She wore white, always white I'd learn. But her eyes gave her away. Cold. Calculating. Empty. She didn't greet me. She inspected me. Her gaze traveled from my locks to my face to my clothes to my boots like I was livestock. You must be the help, she said finally. Perfect English. The loading dock entrance is around back. And someone will get you a proper uniform. That outfit is an eyesore. The lobby went silent. I could have played it safe. Smiled, played the role. But I don't do safe. I walked right into her personal space, close enough to smell her $500 an ounce perfume. I'm not the help, Mi-rae, I said clearly. I'm the partner. Your husband hired me to fix your dying restaurants, and this outfit cost more than your father's first warehouse. Her eyes went ice cold. If you want to talk about eyesores, I continued, let's talk about your kitchen's inventory. Spoilage rate is 18% when industry standard is 8%. Maybe spend less time on my clothes and more time on your books. Temperature dropped 20 degrees. Dae-hyun appeared from behind a column. He'd been watching, testing me. His face was a careful mask, the expression of a man who'd learned to show nothing. He didn't defend me, didn't stop me either. That told me everything. His silence was a cage. Mi-rae's face contorted slightly, rage she couldn't quite control. Then she smoothed it, smiled a smile that didn't reach her eyes, and turned on her heel. We'll see how long your fire lasts here, American, she said, walking away. Each click of her heels sounded like a threat. I waited until she was gone, then looked at Dae-hyun. You could have warned me she was a piece of work. I did. I said she was ice. Ice is an understatement. That woman is a glacier with knives. He almost smiled. Welcome to Seoul, Zora. Your room is on the 58th floor. The silence in that room was deafening. Mi-rae realized right then that I wasn't just another employee she could bully. If you're loving this energy, smash that like button right now. It tells the algorithm that we don't play around with narcissists. The first week in the Kong Palace kitchen was war. Not the glamorous kind you see on cooking shows. Real war. The kind where you're fighting against years of broken spirits, institutional fear, and a culture of perfection that had killed creativity. The head chef when I arrived was a man named Kim Sang-woo, 53 years old, trained in France, technically perfect, spiritually dead. He looked at me like I was an insult to everything he'd spent his life learning. With respect, Chef Vance, he said in perfect English on my first day. Korean cuisine has traditions that go back thousands of years. American barbecue is not going to translate to our clientele. I looked at him, really looked. Saw a man who'd been broken by Mi-rae's criticism so many times he'd stopped trying to be creative. Just followed recipes. Never deviated. Never risked. You're fired, I said. The kitchen froze. Excuse me? His face went red. You heard me. Pack your knives. You're done. You can't. I've been here for 15 years. And in those 15 years you've turned this kitchen into a morgue. Your staff is terrified. Your food is technically perfect and emotionally dead. You're not a chef anymore. You're a robot printing out recipes. I turned to the rest of the kitchen. 20 pairs of eyes staring at me. Anyone else think they know better than me? I scanned the room. No one met my eyes. Good. Because here's what's going to change. Starting today, we cook with soul. We take risks. We fail, and we learn from failing. And nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to make you feel small for trying. Kim Sang-woo stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Security will escort you out, I said quietly. Your severance will be generous. But you're done here. After he left, after security walked him through that kitchen in front of everyone, I addressed the staff. I know you're scared, I said in English, with Jin-woo translating to Korean. I know Mi-rae has been terrorizing you for years. I know you've been taught that one mistake means you're done. But that ends today. I pulled out my knife case. Opened it slowly. These knives are older than some of you. They've cut thousands of animals. They've made mistakes. I've cut myself more times than I can count. But they're still sharp. Still useful. Still valuable. You know why? Silence. Because I take care of them. I respect them. I don't throw them away when they make a mistake. I sharpen them and make them better. I looked at each face. That's how I treat my people. You make a mistake? We fix it. You have a bad day. We support you. You try something creative and it fails? We learn from it and try again. But you will never, never be treated like you're disposable. A young woman in the back, I'd learn later her name was Mi-rae, the pastry chef, started crying. Now, I said, let's cook. By week 3, I'd transformed the kitchen. The staff went from terrified robots to confident cooks. I taught them the sacred cut, the prayer before fire, how to taste with their souls. Jean Woo, the young line cook, went from trembling boy to competent chef. But Mi-rae had doubled down on her tyranny. It happened during lunch service. Min-ji, a sweet server with big dreams, accidentally walked too close to Mi-rae's table. I saw it in slow motion. Mi-rae deliberately stuck out her foot. The girl didn't fall, but a drop of water hit Mi-rae's silk skirt. One drop. Kneel, Mi-rae commanded. The restaurant went silent. Kneel and dry it with your hair. It's the only thing you're useful for. Min-ji started shaking, tears welling. She looked at Dae-hyun, silently begging. He started to rise, face twisted in agony. But Mi-rae snapped. Sit down, Dae-hyun. Remember the contract. One word from me, and your father spends his 80th birthday in a prison cell. The blood debt. The leash. Jerked hard. Dae-hyun froze, shame written across his face. But I didn't freeze. I walked out holding a raw tomahawk, 12 inches of steel and bone, cold from the aging room. I didn't go to the girl. I went to Mi-rae's table. I picked up the pitcher of ice water and poured the entire thing, slowly, onto the table, soaking Mi-rae's lap, her silk skirt, her designer everything. The girl's hair isn't long enough for that mess, Mi-rae, I said, my voice carrying Utah thunder. You want someone to kneel? Try me. But I should warn you. I only kneel to pray, and right now, I'm praying you give me a reason to show you how we handle pests on the ranch. Mi-rae stood, vibrating with pure rage. You're done. Security. Throw this animal out. 3 guards moved in. Dae-hyun stood, but before anyone could speak, the private dining room doors opened. Chairman Kang stepped out, cane thumping on marble. He didn't look at his son, didn't look at his daughter-in-law. He looked at the raw steak in my hand, then at the water dripping off Mi-rae. The American stays, the chairman barked. Mi-rae, go home. You smell like failure. Mi-rae went white, but as she passed me, she leaned in. You think the old man can save you? Tonight, Zora, tonight I burn your ranch down from 10,000 miles away. My phone buzzed. Alert from Moab. Zora, come home. The barns are on fire. She thought she had me. But she didn't know I've been surviving storms since before she learned to walk in heels. We're heading into the final showdown, but before we do, share this video with one friend who loves a satisfying ending. Trust me, they'll thank you for this one. The night after the barn fire, I couldn't sleep. Jet lag, adrenaline, and fury make for a potent insomnia cocktail. I sat in my 58th floor suite, away from everything, just like Dae-hyun had promised, with my laptop open and a cup of terrible Korean instant coffee. I'm not just a butcher. My father made sure I understood every aspect of running a ranch, including the financial side. I took accounting courses at Utah State, learned how to read balance sheets, spot discrepancies, follow money trails. And right now, I was following Mi-rae's money. The arsonist's burner phone had a Seoul area code. That meant the call originated in Korea, which meant Mi-rae had hired someone to burn my ranch, which meant there had to be a paper trail. People like Mi-rae don't use cash. They're too smart for that. They use wire transfers, shell companies, consulting fees that look legitimate on paper. I started with the Kong Hotel's financials that Dae-hyun had given me access to. Legitimate stuff. I was supposed to be reviewing food costs, after all. But financial documents are like butchering a cow. Once you know the structure, you can find anything. And I knew structure. The logistics contracts stood out immediately. Shin Jae-sung's company, Korea Logistics Solutions, handled all shipping for Kong Hotels. Food deliveries, supply chain, everything. The contracts looked legitimate. But the invoices were insane. I pulled up industry standards. A typical logistics contract for a hotel chain charges between 8 to 12% markup. Standard business. Everyone makes money. Shin Jae-sung was charging 35%. On everything. For 10 years. I did the math. Quick calculation. $20 million annually in inflated charges. Times 10 years. $200 million minimum. But that wasn't even the beautiful part. The beautiful part was that some of the invoices were for services never rendered. Shipments that never happened. Emergency delivery fees for emergencies that didn't exist. Mi-rae's father wasn't just overcharging. He was inventing charges. Pure fraud. And the evidence was all there, in neat little PDFs, because rich people are arrogant. They don't think anyone will check. They don't think anyone will care. They didn't count on a rancher from Utah with accounting skills and a grudge. I spent 3 hours downloading everything. Organized it by date, by type, by amount. Built a spreadsheet that even a prosecutor could follow. Then I found the smoking gun. Buried in Mi-rae's personal email account, which I accessed through a combination of social engineering and the world's dumbest password. Mi-rae 1234 was a series of messages to a consultant in Los Angeles. The consultant's fee, $50,000. The service, property damage, United States location. The date, 2 days before my barn burned. I took screenshots of everything, backed it up to 3 different cloud services, sent encrypted copies to my lawyer in Salt Lake City. Then I leaned back and smiled. Mi-rae thought she was playing chess. She didn't realize I'd been playing chess since I was 12 years old, managing ranch accounts while my friends were worried about homework. She just tried to burn down my barn. I was about to burn down her entire empire. My phone glowed with images of flames. My life's work burning. Mi-rae's smirk told me everything. But she forgot. We're built for disasters. Is that all you've got? I whispered, meeting her eyes. I didn't cry. Just swiped the notification away. My ranch has a suppression system and a crew of veterans who'd die for me. You didn't burn my barn, Mi-rae. You just started a fire you aren't equipped to put out. I turned to the chairman. I need 48 hours. I'm not quitting. I'm putting out a fire, then coming back to finish the carving. Dae-hyun stepped forward, eyes blazing. I'm going with you. No. I put a hand on his chest. You stay. If you leave now, she wins. Stay. Stand tall. Find out what evidence she's using to choke your father. I left Seoul that night. When I landed in Moab, charred cedar smell, but the main house stood. My manager met me. They caught the arsonist, Zora. He had a burner phone with a Seoul area code. Perfect. While my crew rebuilt, I spent 48 hours on my laptop, linked into databases Mi-rae didn't know existed. See, she thought I was just a chef. Didn't know I had forensic accounting skills and a memory for grudges. I found it. The blood debt wasn't a mountain, it was a molehill. 10 years ago, the chairman's error had been covered up, yes. But Mi-rae's father had manufactured half the evidence to make it look worse. He'd blackmailed them with a lie for a decade. Better, I found the paper trail of Mi-rae's payments to my arsonist. And then, the jackpot. 10 years of falsified logistics invoices. Systematic overcharging. $200 million in fraudulent fees. I flew back to Korea. Went straight to the chairman's estate and laid the documents on his desk. Your daughter-in-law didn't save your family, Chairman, I said. She's been eating it alive. $200 million in fraud. The old man's hand trembled. What do you want, Zora? I want the leash off Dae-hyun. And I want justice. He smiled, the first real smile I'd seen. Consider it done. When I showed the chairman my evidence, I expected anger. Maybe shock. Possibly denial. What I got was tears. Not loud crying. Just silent tears running down the face of a 73-year-old man who'd built an empire and watched it get eaten alive by lies. We were in his private study, not the corporate office downtown, but his personal space in his estate in Pyeongchang-dong, the old money neighborhood where real power lived. The room smelled like old books and expensive whiskey. Photos on the wall showed a younger chairman, not much older than Dae-hyun was now, standing in front of construction sites, wearing a hard hat covered in dirt. I started with nothing, he said quietly, looking at those photos. My father was a laborer. I was a laborer. I carried bricks. Mixed cement. Worked 80-hour weeks for pennies. He poured himself whiskey. Didn't offer me any. This wasn't a social drink. I built my first building when I was 28. A small apartment complex in Gangnam, before Gangnam was Gangnam. People laughed at me. Said I was building in the middle of nowhere. He drank. That building is worth $300 million now. He turned to look at me. I built the Kang Empire with my hands. Every hotel, every dollar, every brick. It's mine because I earned it. Because I worked until my hands bled and my back broke and my wife left me because I was never home. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I want you to understand what I'm about to lose. And why it's worth it. He picked up my evidence folders. 10 years of fraud. $200 million in theft. All documented. All provable. This evidence destroys the Shin family, he said. Jae-sung will go to prison. His company will collapse. Thousands of jobs lost. The entire logistics sector in Korea will be disrupted for months. I know. It also frees my son, voids the contract, gives him his life back. I know that too. He looked at me. And you don't care about the collateral damage. Should I? I met his eyes. Your son has been dying for 10 years. How many more years should he suffer to protect jobs at a company that's built on fraud? The chairman smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. You're right, of course. But you're American. You think in terms of individuals. In Korea, we think in terms of families, groups, collective responsibility. That's a nice way of saying you sacrifice individuals for the group. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. He drank again. But I'm tired of sacrificing my son. I'm tired of watching him die slowly while wearing a smile. He stood, walked to his desk, pulled out a small box. This was going to be his inheritance, he said, opening it. Inside, a solid gold pocket watch. Old, worn, valuable not for the gold, but for the history. My father gave this to me the day before he died. Said, make something that lasts. I did. I built hotels that will outlive me. But I broke my son doing it. He closed the box. Set it on top of my evidence folders. Use your evidence, Zora. Destroy the Shins. Free my son. And when this is over, he looked at me. Teach him what real work feels like. Like you did for me today at your ranch. You're going to work my ranch? I raised an eyebrow. I owe you a debt. And unlike Shin Jae-sung, I pay my debts honestly. We shook hands. One question, I said. Why did you really let me stay? After Mi-rae tried to have me thrown out. The chairman smiled, a real smile this time. Because you looked at my son the way I used to look at my work. Like it was worth fighting for. Like it was worth saving. Nobody has looked at him like that in 10 years. He poured himself another whiskey. Also, he added, you made Mi-rae look like an idiot in front of the entire hotel. That was worth the price of admission alone. I laughed. Couldn't help it. All right, chairman. Let's burn this empire down. 3 days later, the chairman hosted dinner. Seoul's elite. Politicians, chaebols, power brokers. Mi-rae thought it was her stage. She'd expose me as a low-class butcher. Chef Vance, she said sweetly during the meal, please educate us about your rustic techniques. Perhaps you could describe the slaughtering process? In detail. She wanted me to discuss them. I stood, looked at every face. You want to know about slaughter? I'll tell you. And I gave them the sacred cut speech, about respect for life, gratitude for death, the covenant between rancher and beast. About how every part matters, how nothing is waste, how death is the price of life. In Seoul, I said, I've seen waste. People throw away perfectly good food because it's not Instagram perfect. Kitchens treat ingredients like assembly line products, not gifts from the earth. I looked at Mi-rae. So yes, I slaughter. 3 weeks later, Kong Palace Kitchen. 11:47 p.m. I was cleaning my knives when I heard footsteps. Mi-rae walked in flanked by 4 security guards. Chef Vance, she said sweetly. You're fired. I didn't look up. Only Dae-hyun can fire me. Dae-hyun is in Tokyo. I've decided your services are no longer needed. Get out of my kitchen. Gentlemen, remove her. I stood slowly, holding my tomahawk knife, 12 inches of carbon steel. I wouldn't, I said quietly. The guards hesitated. You're threatening me? Mi-rae laughed. With a kitchen knife? No. I'm letting you know. The first person who touches me needs new fingers. The second needs a new career. And you need a new story about why you brought armed men into a hotel kitchen at midnight. Grab her. Stop. Everyone turned. Dae-hyun stood in the doorway. But different. Tie on. Jacket off. Sleeves rolled. And in his hand, a manila folder. His eyes were alive. I know what you were doing, Dae-hyun said, walking forward. What you've always been doing. He threw the folder down. Documents spilled, shipping manifests, bank transfers, emails. Your family has been stealing from mine for 10 years, he said, voice calm. Too calm. Overcharging logistics. Fake invoices. Pocketing the difference. Mi-rae went pale. You can't prove. $200 million. Dae-hyun stepped closer. That's what we can prove. Actual number is probably twice that. The contract. The contract is void, Mi-rae. Criminal fraud. That's just cause. Which means the marriage, the repayment clause void. Silence. Mi-rae looked at guards. Documents. Dae-hyun. Then me. You, she whispered. Venom. You did this. I shrugged. I just cook. But I'm real good at finding out where the meat comes from. But Mi-rae didn't run. Not yet. You think this is over? Her voice was ice. My father has judges, prosecutors, politicians. Evidence will disappear. And you, she pointed at me. Deported before sunrise. I'm an American citizen with a valid work visa, I said calmly. Try again. Mi-rae pulled out her phone, called her father. Father, they have documents. Pause. Her face changed. What do you mean, frozen? Father. The line went dead. I gave evidence to the Financial Supervisory Service 6 hours ago, Dae-hyun said. Also prosecutors. Tax service. 3 news outlets. Embargoes lift in. He checked his watch. About 2 minutes. Mi-rae's phone exploded with notifications. She scrolled, face going pale to gray to the color of old paper. Then she looked at me with pure hatred. This is your fault. You poisoned my husband. No, I said. I taught your husband to taste the difference between food and garbage. What he did with that knowledge was his choice. You're a maid. I'm the woman who saved his life while you were planning his imprisonment. I stepped forward. I'm the woman who showed him what respect looks like. And I'm going to sleep well tonight knowing I helped a good man escape a bad marriage. Mi-rae raised her hand to slap me. I caught her wrist. Gently. Firmly. Don't, I said quietly. You've lost enough today. Her phone rang. The prosecutor. She answered with shaking hands. Yes. I understand. Tomorrow morning. I'll have my lawyer. She hung up. 10 years, she said quietly. I had you for 10 years, Dae-hyun. And now you'll be inmate number something, Dae-hyun said. 5 years if lucky. 10 if not. Your father will get 20. Mi-rae laughed, broken bitter. You know what's funny? I never even liked you. This marriage was my father's idea. I spent 10 years playing perfect wife for a man I didn't love. And for what? So my father could steal from you. Why didn't you leave? I asked. She looked at me. Because women like me don't leave. We're raised to be ornaments. Trophies. Proof of our father's power. Her voice was hollow. I was cruel to you because you represented everything I wasn't allowed to be. Free. Competent. Chosen for your skills, not your family name. First honest thing she'd ever said. You could have been different, I said quietly. Maybe. But I wasn't. Her phone rang again. She didn't answer. And now I'm going to pay for it. She walked to the door. Stopped. Turned back. For what it's worth, she said to Dae-hyun. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. I hope she makes you happier than I ever could. Then she left. Heels clicked down the hallway. Fading. Gone. $200 million of fraud exposed. Share this video with anyone who loves a good revenge story and comment freedom if you're celebrating with us. But we're not done yet. Dae-hyun sank into a chair, exhausted. She's right, you know, he said. She was trapped too. Different cage. I know, I said. Doesn't make what she did okay. But I know. Then he started laughing, real, genuine. I'm divorced. I'm actually free. Yeah, you are. He looked at me. Eyes bright, alive. Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. I started cleaning up. Freedom's the easy part. Now you gotta figure out what to do with it. He stood. Walked over. I know what I want. Yeah. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. Dae-hyun. What? I'm leaving. His face fell. What? No. I did my job, I said gently. Kitchen is top tier. Jinwoo's ready. Your spine is straight. Dragon is slain. But I'm not a prize you won. My voice was soft but firm. I'm a woman who needs to know if you want me, or if you just want to not be alone. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Words wouldn't come. That's what I thought. I walked to the door. Stopped. You've been in a cage for 10 years, Dae-hyun. You need time to remember who you are when nobody's watching. Not performing, not obligated, not trapped. I looked back. Figure it out. Figure out who Kang Dae-hyun is when he's free. What he likes. What he wants. What makes him happy. And then, if you still want to find me, you know where I'll be. I left. The night before everything exploded, Dae-hyun came to my suite. It was 11 p.m. I was reviewing my evidence for the 100th time, making sure every document was in order, every number checked, every photo backed up. The knock was soft. Hesitant. I opened the door. Dae-hyun stood there in jeans and a t-shirt, the first time I'd seen him out of a suit. He looked younger. More vulnerable. More human. Can I come in? He asked. It's your hotel. It's your space. I stepped aside. He walked in, looked around at my organized chaos. Laptop, documents, empty coffee cups, my knife case open on the table because I'd been sharpening while I thought. Tomorrow changes everything, he said quietly. Yeah, Mi-rae will fight. Her father will fight. They have lawyers, connections, power. I know. They might win. I looked at him. Do you believe that? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, no. Because they've never fought someone like you. I went back to my laptop. Sit down, Dae-hyun. You're making me nervous hovering like that. He sat. Watched me work. Can I ask you something? He said finally. Depends on what it is. Why are you doing this? Really? You could have gone back to Utah after the barn fire. Could have cut your losses and never looked back. Why stay? Why fight? I stopped typing. Looked at him. You want the honest answer? Please. Because I'm fucking furious. I stood up. Started pacing. Mi-rae tried to burn down my life's work. My life. My grandfather built that ranch. My father expanded it. I've put every drop of sweat, blood, and tears into those 15,000 acres. I turned to face him. She thought she could destroy that from across the ocean. Thought she could scare me into running away like everyone else she's ever bullied. Thought I was just some help who'd know her place. I walked over to him. Close. Made him look up at me. I don't run, Dae-hyun. And I don't forget. You hurt me, I hurt you back 10 times harder. That's the Utah way. That's the Vance way. So this is revenge. This is justice, I corrected. Revenge is emotional. Justice is cold, calculated, and complete. I'm not doing this because I'm angry, though I am. I'm doing this because it's right. Because your father is a good man being blackmailed with lies. Because you're a good man being destroyed by a bad marriage. Because Jinwoo and Min Seo and every other person in your kitchen deserves to work without fear. I sat down next to him. And yeah, because I want to watch Mi-rae's face when she realizes the help just took away her entire world. Dae-hyun laughed. Actually laughed. What? I asked. I just realized something. What? I'm falling in love with you. The room went silent. I looked at him. Really looked. Saw it in his eyes, honest, vulnerable, terrified. No, you're not, I said gently. His face fell. What? You're not falling in love with me. You're falling in love with freedom. With the feeling of fighting back. With having someone in your corner for the first time in 10 years. I put my hand on his. Don't confuse the two. How do you know I'm confusing them? Because I've seen it before. On the ranch. We rescue horses sometimes, horses that have been abused, broken, starved. And when we feed them, when we're kind to them, they bond to us. Fast. Hard. Completely. I squeezed his hand. But that's not love. That's gratitude. That's trauma bonding. That's a rescue horse mistaking its rescuer for its soulmate. So what are you saying? I'm saying tomorrow we destroy your cage. And then you need to figure out who you are without it. Who you are when you're free. What you actually want versus what you think you want because I showed up and helped you. And if I still want you after all that? I smiled. Then you know where to find me. He left 20 minutes later. But before he did, he turned at the door. Thank you, Zora. For everything. For the food, for the fight, for this. He gestured vaguely. Thank you for trusting me, I said. For believing that someone from Utah could help a man from Seoul. You didn't help me. You saved me. No, I corrected. Tomorrow you save yourself. I'm just giving you the knife to cut the chains. He smiled. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen since that first night in the desert. Then I better not waste it. After he left, I went back to my evidence. Tomorrow was going to be a beautiful disaster. And I couldn't wait. I didn't know about this part until Dae-hyun told me later, but I'm telling it now because it matters. Dae-hyun sat on a beach watching sunset, and for the first time in his adult life, he had no idea what he was supposed to be doing. No meetings. No calls. No wife. No obligations. Just him. Ocean. Unknown. Terrifying. Amazing. He spent 2 weeks wandering Bali like a tourist, street food, surfing badly, talking to strangers who had no idea he used to be Seoul royalty. Got sunburned. Got sick eating mystery meat. Slept in a $15 hostel. And slowly something woke up. The part Mi-rae had killed. The part that liked spicy food and dumb jokes and sand between toes. He called his father. Where are you? The chairman asked. Bali. Figuring things out. Pause. Good. Take your time. You've spent 38 years doing what everyone else wanted. Figure out what you want. And the hotels? Will survive without you. I'm not dead yet. The chairman chuckled. Though I am flying to Utah next week. I owe Zora ranch work. After they hung up, Dae-hyun sat thinking. Then he booked a flight to Salt Lake City. Moab, Utah. 4 months after Seoul. The chairman showed up at my ranch wearing designer jeans that had never seen dirt and hiking boots still in the box. I put him to work, mending fences, hauling hay, mucking stalls. His boots gave him blisters within 2 hours. His soft hands developed calluses. His back screamed. He loved every minute. At lunch, we sat in shade eating sandwiches. I started like this, he said. 50 years ago. Construction. Building other people's buildings. What happened? I got successful. Success made me soft. He looked at his blistered hands. I forgot what real work feels like. At sunset feeding cattle, he asked. My son is in Bali. Does that bother you? No. That's exactly what he needs. The chairman studied me. You really meant it. About not wanting to save him. I meant it. Men who need saving never stay saved. They just find new prisons. I climbed down from the hay loft. But men who save themselves? Those are the ones worth waiting for. And if he doesn't come? Then he wasn't mine to begin with. The chairman left next morning, but he looked different. Lighter. Free. Thank you, he said, for reminding me who I used to be. I was working on a new grill design when I heard it. A truck I didn't recognize. I walked out to the gate, shading my eyes. An old Ford F-150 pulled up, covered in road dust. The door opened, and there he was. Not the Dae-hyun I'd left. This one was tanned, hair longer and wild, wearing Wranglers that had seen work, boots broken in, t-shirt with a coffee stain. His hands looked used. His face looked alive. And he was carrying Korean soju and a nervous smile. You're late, I called out. By 6 months, he admitted, walking toward me. That's not late. That's a different time zone. He stopped a few feet away. Close enough to talk. Far enough to respect distance. I had to figure some things out. Yeah. What did you figure? He looked at the desert. Mountains. Endless sky. I figured out I spent 10 years in a prison made of glass and marble. Beautiful and suffocating. Then I spent 6 months in hostels and beaches, figuring out who I was when nobody was watching. And I realized, I don't want to own hotels. I want to work with my hands. I want to wake up sore. I want to earn my sleep. He met my eyes. I want to build something real. I studied him, looking for lies, finding only truth. You know what real means out here? 5 a.m. mornings. 100-degree heat. Cattle that don't care about your net worth. Dirt under your nails and exhaustion every night. I know. Do you? Because you can't just show up with boots and soju. I sold the hotel, he interrupted. I stopped. What? The Kong Palace. Sold it. Singapore Hotel Group. He smiled. One condition. They keep Jean Woo as executive chef and Min Seo as pastry director. You sold your family's hotel? It was never my hotel. It was my father's. His dream, not mine. He stepped closer. I don't want to inherit dreams anymore, Zora. I want to build ranches. He held out the bottle. I know I'm 6 months late. I know I'm probably the last thing you need. But I'm here. And I'm not asking to be your partner or your lover or anything you don't want to give. Then what are you asking? For a job. He grinned, unguarded, genuine. I hear you need ranch hands. I've got 2 hands. They're soft as hell, but I'm a quick learner. I looked at him. At the desert. At the life I'd built. Then I took the bottle. Cracked it open. Took a sip. Handed it to him. You start tomorrow. 5 a.m. You're late, you're fired. You complain, you're fired. You break anything expensive, you're fixing it yourself. He took a sip. Yes, ma'am. And one more thing. What's that? I stepped close. Close enough to smell road dust. Close enough to see his eyes, alive, free, ready. If you're going to be on my ranch, eating my food, breathing my air, you better be ready to fall in love with this desert. Because it doesn't forgive halfway. I'm already halfway there, he whispered. Good. I kissed him. Once. Soft. True. A promise, not a possession. Then pulled back. Now grab a hammer. That fence isn't going to fix itself. 1 year later. The Vance Kong ranch was thriving. Dae-hyun had real calluses now. Scars from barbed wire and hot metal. His skin was permanently tan, hair perpetually dusty, hands strong in ways they'd never been signing hotel contracts. He'd learned to butcher under my standards. To rope cattle, badly improving. To read weather. To fix engines. To work fire like it was alive. He also learned to cook. Real cooking. Every Sunday he'd make Korean-American fusion. Galbi with cherrywood smoke. Kimchi with New Mexico chiles. Bibimbap with vegetables from our garden. We expanded. 20 more cattle. New barn. Greenhouse. Plans for mail-order tomahawk business. The chairman visited twice more. Each time staying longer. Each time looking more like the young man who'd started with nothing. One evening, as sky turned purple and gold, Dae-hyun and I sat on the porch watching sunset. We'd been working all day. Exhausted. Filthy. Happy. Do you ever miss Seoul? He asked. I thought about it. The lights. The chaos. The glass towers. Sometimes. I miss Jinwoo. The kitchen. The city at night. But I don't miss the cold. I looked at him. And I don't miss the prison. What do you miss? The moment I realized I could set you free. I smiled. The taste of that first steak. The way you looked at me like I was worth the risk. You were. You are. We sat in comfortable silence, watching desert paint itself in sunset colors. I got a call today, he said. Producer from Seoul. They want a documentary about traditional food preparation. Asked if you'd consult. What did you tell them? That I'd ask you. I considered it. Would it mean going back? For a few weeks. Maybe a month. Would you come with me? If you wanted me to. I smiled. Let me think about it. The ranch is busy, but maybe in the fall. No pressure. The desert isn't going anywhere. Neither are we, I said. And that was true. Desert wind blew. Fire crackled. Somewhere, cattle moved in darkness. And in the main house of the Vance Kong ranch, two people who'd found freedom in the most unlikely place sat together, watching stars come out. Not prisoner and rescuer. Not boss and employee. Just partners. Building something real in a place where the air was clean, the work was honest, and the love was earned. Mi-rae thought she was the queen. Thought her ice could extinguish my fire. She forgot that ice melts. Fire doesn't. So to anyone out there living in a cage, whether it's a marriage, a job, a family expectation, or just the weight of other people's opinions, find your fire. Feed it. Protect it. And when the time comes, use it to burn down every prison they've built around you. Because you deserve better than ice. You deserve the desert. The heat. The stars. The freedom. And if someone tries to dim your light, well, you know where to find me. I've got knives. I've got fire. And I've got a whole lot of Utah grit left to give. My name is Zora Vance. And I don't forgive. I don't forget. And I sure as hell don't lose. Seeing her world crumble in front of the very people she tried to impress? That tasted better than any steak I've ever grilled. If you stayed for the downfall, drop a fire in the comments. And if you haven't yet, subscribe because in this life the boss lady always wins.